Out your place. This is such an unusual place. What's its name again?
Well, originally it was called the Lee Ranch.
I didn't know that.
Now the Valley of the Gods Bed and Breakfast. The Lee family built this place in 1933 after living and working on what's now the Navajo Reservation. Boundaries changed. There was a lot of fluidity in those boundaries over the years.
You mean Arizona-Utah boundary?
No, between what was reservation between the Hopis and the Navajo and certain jurisdictions, and they moved around quite a bit. And so these guys were ranching down there. They relocated north of the river and essentially homesteaded this land.
Are they part of the ancestral people, or are they...
No, they are Anglos. And they are from northern Arizona, or were from northern Arizona originally. So they came here, built this home in '33 as a private residence. They did dabble in various ways of making a living. They did tours, they rented rooms, they worked over at Monument Valley with John Ford and Harry Goulding. So
wow.
They were buddy with Harry Goulding because that's where they were ranching. So they were very close.
Wow.
So they would work on the movies to some degree, do some extra, PA type stuff, and then would also provide livestock. And I think they'd bring over movie people to the house, cook them a big steak, tell them lies. Typical kind of Western thing. So anyways, the house was solidly built, and even though they left much sooner than they expected, there was a nice solid structure to work with. The big thick stone walls, which we can get a detail of on the inside, and the heavy timbers and the beam ceilings, which we'll see, and it's a good time to go inside.
What about out here? What do you have out here?
Well, of course, in the warm time of the year, we say this is our living room, dining area, and our kitchen right behind us. And sort of our summer kitchen keeps the heat out of the house. And it's just nice.
And it gets hot. It gets hot. I mean, it's almost October and it's 90 here.
Yeah, it's the desert. We can get up to 100. That's not the norm, but it's not unusual either. So anything less is happening.
Old saddle here?
Yeah, just part of our collection of free artifacts, basically. Let me walk you through the main part.
Great.
Get you some lighting.
Why don't I close this?
Or will that adapt for the light?
I think it'll hopefully happen. But
well, we're now in the main part of the house. These first two main rooms were plastered and whitewashed, so we kept it that way, true to form.
Nice.
The rest of the house has all the exposed, relatively rough stone walls. You can get a detailed shot over there on typical thickness. 18 inches to 2 feet, I would say, on average. Dry laid and then pointed with mortar, not set in mortar as they went up. So, pretty good craftsmanship. They knew some local Navajos who helped them with that.
Yeah,
project.
I mean, that's what the cliff dwellings did.
Yeah. And then the big timbers and rough sawing planking, also an interesting story. Probably one of the main reasons this house is located specifically here was the proximity of these beams, which were about a mile from here at the base of the cliff, and this was one of the last exploratory oil wells that was drilled in this area.
Wow.
Shortly after 1900. So, after the oil rush was over, these guys had to leave that reservation area, came here, tore apart that drilling platform, like a big erector set basically, it was mobile, and dragged the beams over here and built the house. So these beams probably determined room size and the dimensions in general. They probably tried not to waste anything.
What about that one big beam that I saw from Pennsylvania in the other room?
That's known as the rocker beam, and that was the central beam on the drilling rig. And that was kind of a part.
It may have originally been from Pennsylvania, but not more recently. It was part of that oil rig.
Correct. These rigs were manufactured in Pennsylvania, brought out west by rail, and then teamed in however they could transport them from the nearest railhead, which I think I heard was Gallup, New Mexico.
Oh, really?
Here. So probably Pennsylvania pine or something, all these timbers. And then when the boys built the house, It's pretty, well, people say it's over-engineered, and it probably is.
I just say the beams.
But they did have an earthen roof, which was the style. So it did end up being pretty heavy duty and need to carry some load. So between the walls and that dirt load, you really needed these big timbers. I've known previous owners who are local, and they said they've had backhoes up on there pushing dirt around and driving around.
I was going to say, snow gets really heavy too, doesn't it? You get a lot of snow?
Not normally.
Oh, no?
Snow load was probably not a tremendous issue for them, but it was certainly would have taken it. So, let me walk you through the rest of the house. Show you a little quick here. Guest rooms in the main house, they all have private bath like your place. And they're all a little different being an older home. Quite a bit of variation. But we try and keep them equal in comfort level.
Best Porch Award.
Great.
Wood heater behind you, that's our primary heat source in the winter. Although we do heat with solar hot water.
I noticed that. Yeah, I noticed that.
Your place
panels
does some hot water, but it isn't solar. This house has some hot water heat as well. So a couple things going on. This is that main bedroom or main room. There's the main beam we were talking about with the drilling company's logo on it.
Wow.
And it says Keystone Driller Company, Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, USA. And I recently was in southwestern Wyoming, I think Evanston, and was basically going down the main drag for a quickie stop and spotted one of these rigs out in front of a restaurant who had it as just a little ornamentation. And what I spotted was this beam.
Wow.
And so I grabbed some photos of that to help kind of document what those drilling rigs were like. And it had spools of wire and a boiler for steam. You know,
my
it was
God.
pretty intricate.
There were a number of rigs on our way. We drove from Mesa Verde through Aneth, and there were about 8 different rigs, but small ones.
They vary in size, and that's a function of depth.
I see.
Those derricks, the bigger they are, the deeper the oil.
I see. I see. So
they make, when you go to Mexican Hat, there's little ones not as big as me and you, and those are pumping from like 50 feet.
I see.
So
we passed through there, I just didn't have noticed.
If you go back for any reason, you'll see them. They're just scattered about town.
It's a nice piece here.
That's a piece of Lake Powell driftwood. 1983, I was a park ranger there. Actually, the first time I ever saw this house was driving by on the way to Lake Powell from Flagstaff, our home. And that water was a tremendous flood year, and there was driftwood all over the place in the fall. We went back, and I snagged a few pieces. This is the only one that I kept, but made a quick table out of it.
Beautiful.
Lovely. Part of an old bridge or something that washed out.
Well, it's a lovely home. You've done wonderful things.
Well, thank you.
With it, and
you can shoot one bedroom too if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, come on in.
Nice.
If you can get to it, the stone showers are one of the highlights of the house bedrooms. We were unable to do stone in your kides because it has a wooden floor. You couldn't take the weight.
Oh, I see. Wow. This is great.
We've really tried to, as we've been here for basically 15 years, we've tried to increase the comfort level without sacrificing the rustic character.
It's fantastic.
So it's
a great balance.
Do things like the stone and rustic tile. And
well, thank you for being here.
You bet.
Thank you for sharing this with me.
My pleasure. Efficient.
But the stove looked great, functional and ready to go, and working daily.
That's running every day.
And the fridge is a nice backup when you get yourself a bison one day.
Yep.
Some great bison the other night.